Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of the Advice Guru podcast. Well, today I'm delighted to be joined by someone I've been thinking about getting on the podcast for a while. And the universe was talking to me a few weeks ago when I saw her at a mortgage solutions event. So I'm delighted today to be joined by Jess Trueman of Smart Money People. Hello, Jess.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
No problem. That wasn't a stalking comment, by the way. It's just I've admired your progress and growth over the years and thought Jess would be a really good person to have on the podcast. So I'm so glad you could join us.
No, delighted to be here.
Great. So we're going to talk about quite a few things today. And yeah, and you've said a few things you'd like to talk about, and that's really cool. But I guess my first question is going to be, so where did it all start, Jess? Where were you when the idea came up and how did it happen?
Yeah, so I mean, I've been with Smart Money People for just over 3 and a bit years now. But I suppose Smart Money People has been around for about 10 years. We just somewhat decided not to tell anybody for the first six or so. So
Good
we
secret, was it?
It was. So, our initial founder started the company about 10 years ago, and the idea was that we wanted to be a trip advisor, but for financial services. So, there's lots of places you can go, including our sister website, where you can find out what the best deal is, what the cheapest car insurance is, what the best savings rate is. But we really wanted to show people what it was like to live with. So, Smart Money People was founded, and alongside that, our three awards, so the British Bank Awards, Consumer Credit Awards, and Insurance Choice Awards. And the website really was made up of reviews or votes for those awards and a lot from the building society sector. So we work with the building society sector very, very closely for the whole time, really. And pretty much all of them are still clients of ours today. And what they really taught us is we can really change our question set to make it very specific to financial services. So what they use it for now is not just your 5-star score on dreaded competitors like the likes of Trustpilot, but
Yes.
not a lot more. So with our sort of main customer survey, there's over 13 different data points, and that gathers everything from your usual 5-star and your customer verbatim feedback, which is obviously really important, but also things like NPS and information around those consumer duty, treating customers fairly type metrics, depending on which time period you're speaking about. And the great thing is they can benchmark that over the last 10 years, really. So we built that for the building societies, and they love it. They use it in their board reporting. They use it in lots of different ways. And then the founder left probably around lockdown time.
Okay.
They'd taken some investment from Family Building Society. And then they didn't want to be our founder anymore. And our CEO, Jacqueline Dewey, joined us. So Jacqueline's ex-Noddle, ex-Ed Credit Card. So she's got lots and lots of experience of building up these sorts of businesses. So at the time, I think there was 3 people working for the business.
Wow.
And myself and a guy called Jake Sanford came in as head of data and analytics. So his job was to rebuild the data platform. My job was to speak to businesses. And then we brought in our head of product who has basically rebuilt the platform. So since 2021, we really have completely restructured the data. We've completely rebuilt the platform. We've done a massive rebrand. And we've put ourselves in a position now where it's not just, we still got building societies that sending paper branch forms, which is so important to them, but not quite important to some of these app-based, nano banks. So now we've got the platform that can really go out to the whole market. And the plan is to grow that. We bought another business called Be Clever with Your Cash a couple of years ago. That's very much as I said, your money saving, best cash deals, best ISA deals.
Yeah.
Where can you find the best money saving rates? They've got an amazing community. And we also, I imagine your listeners will be most familiar with our mortgage lender benchmark. So that's been going for, goodness gracious, 14 editions now.
Wow.
I'm sure we'll talk about that in more depth later, but that is a really big report. We go out to about 5,000 brokers, normally get just under 1,000 responses, where people can really brokers really let rip on what they think lenders, what's good, most importantly, what's bad, but also what they want to see, what they think of the market, tech platforms, all that sort of stuff. So that's us in a nutshell, really. It's certainly been a busy 3.5 years since I joined.
Yeah.
20,
So-
25 staff now. So yeah,
Okay. Okay. So
exciting.
there's loads there. So, God, where do I start? I'm learning stuff. I didn't know it'd been around for 10 years. So, what's your job title now
So I'm head of business development. So I basically look after most of the B2B relationships. We've obviously got our awards team that do a fantastic job of nurturing the people that
then?
come for our awards, but fundamentally all of the businesses that use the review platform, my job is to try and get them to care about the data really that sits behind the reviews.
Yeah, no, okay, that's really cool, Joel. And you've been doing that for about 3.5 years. I love the phrase the trip advisor of financial services. So, do you feel you've reached that level, or have you surpassed what you felt you were going to do?
We're certainly getting there. I think being completely candid, I think it depends on the sector. I think
Okay,
more sector, very well known, savings, insurance, we're really getting over there. In terms of customers who know us, our brand awareness is becoming really high as well. We're really sort of happy with that. But we do intend to grow. I know for a fact our board are very excited to one day see the first smart money people advertisement on TV. And that will be coming, I imagine, in the next 18 to 24 months. That being said, many of our clients, likes of Chase Bank and people like that, are already putting our logo out there, which is always quite exciting to see.
yeah, no, that's really cool. So you've grown into this business that isn't just focusing on building societies, isn't just focusing on mortgages, but you regard that as where you came from, so really important to your business. So we'll talk about mortgages separately because obviously loads of our listeners are in the later life, but
Mhm.
increasingly in the mortgage market as well. But yeah, that is a topic on its own. But I'm just really interested in how you've grown and looking at your website and the banking, credit, borrowing, insurance, investments, and savings. So, in amongst those, are you saying that your credit and borrowing section is what people know you for, and the others are the emerging ones?
Yes, definitely. When we sort of ask our customers what they're interested in, they're always interested in the likes of savings, investments, and then all of the insurances. I think particularly with insurance, people really and savings actually. Every April we get a huge boost on the website, both of our websites,
Yeah,
because people want to know where am I moving my money to, what ISA am I setting up, all that sort of stuff. Um, and then, like I say, our clients very excited about investments, but we're currently growing that space for them, and we do that very, very successfully through our awards program. So, each year we do, for example, the British Bank Awards. You can vote for that and put in quotation marks, even though this is not on video. Um, that by leaving a review. What people don't realise is each of those reviews collects all that data I mentioned before, but that team is really excellent at getting more data onto the platform for those different sectors. So best investment platform, best savings platform, all that sort of good stuff. And we do that in consumer credit and insurance as well. And then that encourages other businesses to say, actually, I want a piece of this. Why is my competitor on there and I'm not? And
yeah, no,
that is our main that's our main way of getting people on, because people don't like it when they're not on a ranking table that their competitor is.
love it. Yeah, that's a really clever way of doing it, actually. But it's inclusive because people join. But so I guess I'm interested in: are you trying to rank products, rank companies, or educate consumers?
So there's a real mix of both. So one of the reasons why Big Clever with the Cash came on board is that is very much your editorial. They are experts, Andy, who's been running that business for around 10 years as well. So is at a good point. He is an absolute expert on, anything money saving, different interest rates. We had Amelia Murray join us. So she's ex-Mail, who are very much about personal finance. So they're the experts in the field. They know what's going on, what the new deals are. So theirs is where do you go? And then you come to Smart Money People to see what are other customers saying. So we've done quite a lot of research that say that that customers really care about consumer reviews. And I think in today's market, that's getting more and more. People used to bank with who the mum and dad banked with, whereas now people are wanting to know, well, actually, do I get a better service if I've got a lifetime ISA with Tembo or Moneybox? You know what I mean? They're not necessarily going to the building society on the high street, although the building society is certainly trying to do something about that, and things like our websites are really helping them.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so yeah, we're trying to do a little bit of both. Our ranking pages on Smart Money People are purely based on customer responses, and it's not just on the 5-star rating. It brings into things like recency. So it used to be the case that if you got 5-star reviews 5 years ago, that you'd still be top of the ranking page, whereas we don't do
yeah,
it
yeah.
anymore.
Okay.
It also brings in towards those other data points, so we can ideally give people an idea of a true idea of what they live with. And things like negative reviews, by the way, businesses are terrified of them, but they're so
Yeah,
important because I don't know about you, I do not trust people who have no negative reviews. I know I have one day, and I'm sure we all do.
yeah, yeah. Do you know, I was looking at holidays the other week, and I wasn't, yeah, you're right. I wasn't looking necessarily for 5-star reviews. I was looking to see what the owner had said about the bad reviews, whether they'd kicked off at the person who'd left it. How dare you? Your whole family were horrible all holiday, and we were glad when you left. Or which is probably the case. Or is it more of a, oh, we're so sorry, we had a problem that day, but we did try and resolve it with you, and we'd love to welcome you back for, a free holiday. Is that the sort of thing that you encourage your people to do?
Yeah. So our entire dashboard is set up. We would love every single business on our site to reply to every single review, but we
Yeah.
appreciate some of them have got tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of review on the site. So
Wow.
that's not possible. They'd need a call center full of people.
Yeah, sure.
But what we do is we flag up the 1 and star reviews because that gives them a real opportunity to see, like, to see where the problems are and where they lie. And again, once you get under the bonnet, the businesses that we work closely with, we can give them different tracking links so they can really start to see themes. Like, do you know what? Bill and Site is a really easy example because they've got very clear products, very clear distribution channels, but they always get the same problem in that branch on a Thursday, and it
Yeah.
can literally be that pinpointed. Or speaking of the mortgage sector, we once did a piece of work for someone that's become just before I joined, that's now become commonplace, which is we can break it down by BDM. So you
Right.
if you've got fluctuating satisfaction scores, is it a particular region? Is it a particular BDM that's causing the problems? We actually found on one of them there was one guy and his NPS was like 40 points lower than everybody else, and it's not necessarily about then having a go at this BDM. It's about, well, what's going wrong there? Is his patch is his patch 3 hours away from his house? So by the time he arrives at a broker appointment, and then they haven't got all the information, he's a bit frustrated or something like that. You just
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
going on.
Yeah, you can't analyze data without understanding what's behind it, can you? And I was going to be a question I had about, AI. And so, do you currently use AI? Is it becoming a feature? Because I'm just thinking, if you've got hundreds of thousands of reviews and you can't answer them all, well, AI could. Would that be a good thing? Would that be a bad thing? What are your thoughts?
So at the moment, we don't use AI in that way. We've built our own sort of algorithms and pathways in the background to help us analyze data, but that's
Yeah.
been by us. In terms of answering reviews, at the moment we've gone round in circles on this one, being completely honest.
I'll bet.
Because a like being really frank, the likes of Trustpilot are doing it and they're doing it pretty well. But
Okay.
we really want our businesses to read them and do something about it. Our viewpoint is we want businesses to really take away this data, analyze it, use it, etc. If they're not reading the reviews and curating the responses, then are they learning the lessons? Now, don't get me wrong, AI is growing at such a rate that it might be one day that we use it because the AI will be able to analyze batches of reviews and create appropriate responses. But that would rely on the businesses to then read whatever report that churns out. So at the moment, we're quite proud from a consumer point of view that we don't offer AI responses because we think at the moment the review numbers are usually manageable for people to just
Yeah, yeah.
read
I
it.
think I think you're wise because, some people have been jumping on the AI bandwagon for the sake of it and not necessarily using the right AI or an AI that's actually adding value to their business. It's just so that they can say we use AI. So yeah, and until something comes along that performs the function you want better than humans, I think the human side of it is better. yeah, we've been experimenting with various AIs, and we've rejected more than we use because it hasn't been better than what we were doing.
Yeah, and what one thing that TripAdvisor do well, and I think Amazon do it as well, and I think it's something we'd quite like to do ourselves, and it's in our product roadmap, I think. I don't think our head of products listen to that. We'll go with it is. Um, no, I'm pretty sure we talked about is that summary, which is quite good. So at
Yeah,
the moment on the top of your review page, it'll say, here's your latest good review and here's your latest bad review. I think the goal would be for us to do very similar to what TripAdvisor have done, which is this is what people like and this is what people don't like, because that's what they've done. They analyze all the reviews
yeah, that's clever.
to there, and it's pretty cool actually. So that's something we've been looking at,
Yeah,
but that would be our first step, I think, into AI.
yeah, yeah.
Hope
I think
anything automated for the businesses.
yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. So making analysis better and more usable rather than yeah for the sake of it. Yeah, makes sense. Okay, so we've been talking a little bit about the overall business. I'm interested in, and you may or may not want to answer this, the business model. How does it work then? Who how do you generate money for the business?
So there's a few different ways. So our awards generate income for us. So although you can participate in our awards completely free of charge, obviously if you then want to attend the fancy dinner,
Yeah.
uh, again they won't be happy about me calling it a fancy dinner. Our flagship gala event
Yes,
is
we'll edit
it
that bit. Yeah. Flagship
fantastic.
gala event. Love it. It's a fancy dinner, Jess. Come on.
It's a fancy dinner. But no, honestly, the events are fantastic. Usually a household name comedian there, so they're always a good thing for and people tend to take teams rather than clients. We've noticed like it's not
Okay.
a good well done from them.
Yeah.
And then obviously any badges from them we're quite transparent, but you could purchase.
Yeah.
Obviously, in terms of my side of the business, you can claim your page for free with us. However, if you want to get all that data analysis, access to all the information, download everything, there is a charge.
Yeah.
Uh, and that's a monthly fee. Generally, if unless you want our input from our data and analytics team who might write monthly reports or do full analysis, it's 199 a month and they can completely self-serve with that. So in terms of all that consumer duty stuff, it is pretty competitive.
Yeah.
And then there's our mortgage lender benchmark,
Yeah.
which obviously we charge for. We probably don't make much money on it because the man hours that go into that are absolutely crazy. Thankfully, not from me. Um, and then we also have just started looking at a bit of monetization of the website, which we've talked about very carefully over the years. We've
Yeah.
always, we've got a very strict amount of guardrails that we've set up in terms of who we'll work with, who we won't, what we'll do, what we won't, particularly on the Clever with the Cash side, because Andy is unbribable. Like you cannot get that man to say somebody's best savings account if it's not.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
clear, this is one of our partners. Have a look at them. Is a
Yeah.
very different situation.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That's really cool, and I guess it's the someone I was explaining advice guru to someone earlier on, and she said, "Oh, are you a not-for-profit organisation?" And I my answer was not deliberately. It was just it's early days, okay. But yeah, I guess you have to make money to invest and make things better, don't you? So that's all part of it. Cool. So we're going to circle around there because we did say we'd talk about the lending side of things
Mhm.
some more because we have a lot of advisors and BDMs and directors listening in who are from the mortgage market. So a lot of them will know about the mortgage lender benchmark work you do, but a lot won't. So yeah, talk to us in detail about that then. What and why do you do that?
So the mortgage lender benchmark, basically, and I don't have to tell you this, all the people listening to this, one thing we struggled with, there's no point us going out to mortgage customers and saying, what do you think of your mortgage lender? Because they don't talk to them. Their direct debit comes out 60 times, unless there's a problem, which again, that's also quite hard. They could have a lot of satisfied customers and they'd only really be asking the people that had a problem. And we do work with businesses on that. We've got a surveys product that's private and away from the review website where they can really dig into that information.
Okay.
But the majority of the feedback they want is from brokers.
Yeah.
So over the years, we've built up, like I said, about 5,000, a network of about 5,000 brokers. And we go out to them. And what we do is we pay them a tenner in an Amazon voucher each for
Yeah.
filling out this survey. And it's pretty long. It's about 15 minutes long. They have to give us detailed feedback on the last 5 lenders they've tried to place a case with. So it doesn't necessarily have to have been successful, because otherwise you get the ones that worked out really well.
Yeah.
And then we also then ask questions about the market. So we in the last one, which I can go into a bit more detail if you want me to later, we asked brokers, particularly those that don't currently offer later life lending,
Yeah.
why.
Okay.
There was assumptions made, and that was a bit of work we did with Pure Retirement. They said, "Can you put the question in?" We said, "Yeah, absolutely," and then we got the results off that as to why. What are the barriers of brokers good? So we asked questions like that,
Yeah.
and
Oh no, no, I'm not. I'm going to stop you there. Come on.
fair enough, fair enough.
Why don't they? Come on. Love to know
Um,
that.
there's a range of reasons, as you can imagine. I think about half of them are a little bit worried about a knowledge gap.
Yeah.
They don't have the knowledge. Obviously, there's lots of costs and things they can go on. They're worried about general regulation and compliance.
Yeah.
A little bit about vulnerability. I think we did a piece of work separately to that with Newcastle on the broader market around vulnerability, because I think there's an issue generally of disclosing vulnerability to brokers and then brokers to lenders. Although I'd say, particularly the equity release sector, probably ahead of the game, big style on that one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. So were the advisors saying, I'm not comfortable with talking to someone about their vulnerabilities, or were they saying, I don't want to be involved in that market because it's full of vulnerable people? Was there a differentiation?
I think in the case of the why you don't want to do equity release or later life lending,
Yeah.
it was we worried that the customers are vulnerable and I
Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
deal with them.
Okay.
Um, and then, like I say, we did a completely separate piece of work onto why they don't disclose vulnerability. And again, they place a lot of onus on the lenders. This is the whole of market. This is not
Yeah.
just equity release or later life, where they basically sort of said, we haven't had enough information. You don't make the process clear enough. You don't give us anywhere to put the information. So,
Yeah.
working with the likes of IMLA and a few, Amy and a few others to put guidelines together around, what a lender should have on their website in terms of where they can put this information, what they're looking for, and that sort of thing. I
Yeah.
think it was something like 90% of people knew that they'd had a vulnerable customers, but 60% had never even disclosed.
Okay.
There is a gap there. So
Yeah. Yeah.
on that. And then going back to sort of what barriers, there was a little bit around, you know, reputational risk. I think some people still think of
Oh,
later life lending as it was years ago,
yeah.
not as it is now. Um, and then worried about getting things like qualifications. So yeah, the main reasons were certainly around that knowledge gap and regulatory piece, and the more hoops to jump through. So again, we're working with the likes of Pure to try and work on that education gap, show that the market isn't what it was before. And events like the one that we met at in London, I think.
Yes, the Mortgage Solutions event. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That was a really interesting one actually. I'm sorry, no, I just became a listener to my own podcast there because what you were saying is really interesting, and
Oh, happy
all
to send it over so you can have a read as well.
yeah, don't send that over. It is really interesting, and I'm I'm not sure how we get that out to more people because all of those things you've mentioned are things we've set Advice Guru up to solve.
Mhm.
So that it's just really interesting that the things that I thought were the problems within our sector are. So do you then help people with the solutions? Do you work with the lenders or what's your next steps there?
Generally, they tend to go away and work it out themselves. So our job really is to gather the information, add
Yeah.
gather the information, analyze it, and give it to them.
Yeah.
Usually, we try and make it, as easy to sort of understand and implement as possible. So, for example, this vulnerable customer thing, that
Yeah.
was I just said we have some building societies that had said, "Can you talk to us about vulnerability and why
Yeah.
brokers won't close?" We did that big piece of work with about 30 lenders. We analysed the results, helped them create an ebook, and then those lenders have generally gone out to do their own thing. That being said, on that one, there was a lot more interest than I thought you know,
Yeah.
myself, who I worked at Newcastle, we thought that there would be. So the likes of UK Finance, Amy,
Yeah.
Imler have all got involved in that and are helping to make things on an industry sort of basis. And then again with this barriers to later life, the idea we can work with likes of Pure to squash some of those myths and people like yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We can maybe run that question again in 12 months' time, and hopefully that will have changed. And that's how we'd sort of measure success in that.
When did when did you ask the questions? How
We
long
had,
ago?
this question was September.
Okay, because
So
I don't know because you before we started speaking, we were talking about the podcast you just listened to, which was um, Leon Diamond from um, Livermore, and the conversation we were having is how there's a real flavour at the moment. It's not flavour; it's a movement within the later life industry at the moment where the it needs to open up and encompass a broader church or
Mhm.
those advisors need to come into later life lending. And I've got another podcast coming out next week, which is from the director of product for MAB, who is passionate about the same thing. Are you seeing that groundswell amongst advisors and companies in your journeys and conversations?
Yeah, I mean, the later life sector, I would say, in terms of the response that we're getting from the MLB, I'd have to look at what the figures, but we definitely get a lot more feedback. You
Okay.
know, we mentioned Pure earlier. We got to a point with them. They've always been a big advocate of the report because they use it internally.
Yeah. Yeah.
But one of the ways that we started working with them was they just weren't we weren't getting the responses. So they were like, well, what can I do with 8 broker responses? Like that's going to take.
Yeah.
Whereas we got for that space in the last report, well over 200 responses in this.
Ah.
And so now what we've started doing is going out to the lenders and saying, if you want a link to send to your broker network, you can. So we always resisted that. But
Yeah.
the way that we see it is we can track that link. We can also we also still ask the broker to leave uh, leave feedback on 5 different lenders. So we're
Yes.
comfortable now that we're
Yeah.
not being biased there. So we
Okay.
are trying to get more and more information because again, the more people that respond to these surveys, particularly in your sector, the more we're going to be able to do that. But I do think, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that sort of standard resi space starts to answer more.
Yeah.
Interestingly, a lot of some of the brokers we're working with now wouldn't necessarily put themselves down as just sort of specialist in that space. They'd class themselves as more generalist, which I think we'll see a move in that as well.
So, Jess, one of the things that really interests me about something we were talking earlier on is how mortgage advisors can actually, mortgage and later life lending advisors can actually join your site for free. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So it doesn't cost anything to be listed on Smart Money People. So all you need to do is get in touch, tell us about your business, and we'd set up a page with your logo. And then you'd be able to invite all of your clients to leave reviews, and even put a widget on your website to show how well you're doing.
We've had a really good chat there. Loads of things that you've raised that I'd love to go into more detail. So I think I'm going to, I've been saying this most weeks actually. I need to invite you back to another one. So maybe in 6 months, we'll have a chat about how that space has altered. And it's fascinating for me, for Advice Guru, for us as a company to actually spot what's happening. And it might be that the later life lending world doesn't grow enough for what we need. So we need to get the main market to grow into that space and meet in the middle. So yeah, we'll do another one. But question that I've been asking at the end of most of the podcasts recently, and I quite like asking this one, and it's not an appraisal. Someone said to me the other day, "Is this my appraisal?" And it's like, so what do you want to happen in the next 6 to 12 months in your company that you are leading and becoming involved in? What's your passion for what's next, Jess?
I think for us, like as I sort of said earlier on, we have spent 3 years really rebuilding the platform.
Yeah.
we're getting busier and busier every day. So for us, it really is. 2025 is a time to really ramp up into those other sectors. You know, the likes of the MLB has got a very loyal client base, and that's growing pretty organically now.
Okay.
Yeah, but for me to really get out there and get people really understanding the customers and using our data to meet those FCA consumer duty regulators, because the FCA are asking people to include real customer experience, and if you can't do it through us, then I'm not sure if there's an easier platform. So yeah, I think that's the big goal this time next year. We'll be talking to a position where a lot more of your listeners will have heard of Smart Money People, and we might even be on the telly by then.
Yeah. Oh, when you're on the telly, let me know. I'll record it. Okay. It's just where you go. Do you go to the countdown slot, or do you go in the Premier
Oh,
League highlights, or where do you go?
we've got a pretty broad demographic, but you know, it's the 25 to 40s apparently where we've got
Okay.
a real group, which is exciting because you know they're a very active group now, and I think they're used to doing their own research. I think mortgages is slightly different. People need an advisor, but outside of that, I think people really want to do their own research now and understand what other customers. But no one believes what they're being told by companies anymore. They want to find out what other customers are saying.
Yeah, no, that's very true. People want reviews. So I'm just trying to think of a program for 25 to 40-year-olds these days. Yeah, where'd you go?
So now
It,
try and advertise on Netflix.
yeah, yeah, I think you've got to go on Netflix, or yeah, that's not Love Island
Look,
territory.
yeah,
So
right.
I think you come back to the football as we started before
Absolutely.
our conversation that was being recorded. That you end up in the football highlights, or yeah, certainly avoid countdown though, because yeah, that's the
Maybe
later life
yeah,
market.
8 out of 10 cats does countdown might be more our speed.
Jess, that's been really interesting. So thank you ever so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you.